Pete hasn't joined us yet. So I started recording. So maybe we'll just leave this as part of the show because we haven't had a chance to chat between each other for a while.
Right. So you're on FSH and HCG or testosterone legitimately?
FSH and HCG like a few days before I added testosterone in, but at a very low dose. I don't know what the equivalent is, but maybe it's something between 100 to 400. The reason I say that is that it's not pharmaceutical, so I don't trust it. So it's something between 100 and 400 milligrams. I don't know exactly how much it is.
I mean, you're the king of prescriptions, so I'm sure you can get a script for testosterone.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get into too much details, but there was something lying around, basically. So that's what
you found it in a drawer,
exactly. Leftover.
So
there's very little.
So you're the only enhanced guy on this podcast.
Yeah, so that's what I was gonna say. So it's very interesting. So I think both of you, both of you are a bit enhanced, but I'm the only guy who's actually on testosterone now, I guess, between the two. So what's your, before Pete comes on, what's your update regarding, so I know what was going on before, but what are you doing right now? So are you taking FSH, or are you taking HCG, or are you just, your LH and FSH have recovered?
I'm just letting it roll naturally, so it's, basically I'm at 375 nanograms per deciliter now, but I think that's how Pete is joining. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's save it for Pete.
Pete, when you join, hey Pete. When you join, your video won't turn on. You've got to just turn it on manually. Oh, there you go.
I'm what's up? This lighting's not great, but
how you doing?
This is I'm doing well. How about you guys?
Good.
Well, it's great to talk to you again. It's been too long, a little delayed.
Oh no, it's all good.
Steve has been following our discussion, so he really wanted to join along with us. And Steve also is unusually in a similar situation as yours. So I was just asking Steve actually about what he's currently doing. Because, Steve, can you summarize for us what happened? So the NAFLD thing happened, and then how did you decide to go off testosterone for a while? What was the whole process?
Well, the whole reason was because, any FLD, the way to resolve it is to get your calories under control and, limit certain food choices and limit the exposure to performance-enhancing drugs. So I figured might as well go off cycle and give bodybuilding a bit of a break, a bit of a rest. Which in hindsight maybe was not the best idea. Maybe I should have stayed on hormone replacement to resolve it, right? It would have sped up the process because taking the selective estrogen receptor modulators and having low testosterone for certain periods of time, I'm sure didn't help. So I figured, you know what, I'm going to give bodybuilding a break. And if I'm giving bodybuilding a break, I don't need PEDs. Now, I'm still using growth hormone and the liraglutide to keep my appetite under control. So it's been 5 months, 6 months in an attempt to get the non-alcoholic fatty liver disease under control. But as of the last test, it's only 50% resolved. But that's almost 6 weeks ago now. So hopefully this weekend I'll be able to confirm with an ultrasound that it's gone, because I've been eating vegetables only for the last 6 weeks.
I saw that video, So your original goal was to deal with the NAFLD, but in the process you took on a much bigger thing, which is that you went off completely and recovered. And so are you on anything like HCG or FSH? By the way, Pete, you may have your speakers playing, I think, and it's picking it up.
Yeah.
All right, let me see here.
Yeah, I don't know how to do that, though. I've heard other podcasts have this problem, but I don't know how to resolve it.
Usually with a headset,
headset.
That's why I'm wearing one.
Let me try turning the volume down, see if that helps at all.
That will help. You could do that, or you could put a headset in.
Okay, how's that right there?
We don't hear it.
I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
You hear us?
So
I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So Steve, tell us. Yeah.
So in the meantime, I did the post-cycle therapy, and then my highest testosterone came up to 515 nanograms per deciliter. So it's middle of the reference range. And then starting this fasting mimicking diet with vegetables only, besides the 1 or 2 cheat meals that I have in the weekend. My testosterone came down to 375 nanograms per deciliter. And I went back and forth a little bit with Pete, discussing our blood work, and it's almost identical.
Wow, how so?
On the testosterone, on the hematocrit, on the red blood cell, on the estrogen, low estrogen, low testosterone, low hematocrit, and all the other markers like creatinine is coming down and the liver enzymes are coming down. So it's very interesting to see, because Pete and me, we did a little bit of a different approach regarding our post-cycle therapy, because I let all my androgens decline, which took like 6 weeks. And then I was clinically androgen deficient. And then I started my post-cycle therapy. But I believe that, Pete, you basically started it from one day to the next.
Yeah,
Can you
I started it like.
explain?
Oh, you're good. I started like 14 days after the last shot, so I started with the HCG and the HMG.
Yeah.
And Pete, what's your update since we last spoke? The last time we spoke, I think you had just stopped using HMG and HCG, or maybe you were still using them, but you were talking about gonadotropin, gonadorelin, which we'll talk about in this discussion also. But how have you modified what you're doing right now? Are you off everything?
Yes, I've been off everything for about 50 days now, roughly. So not even Clomid, not even Novadex, nothing like that. So basically I like took my last shot, and then I think it was about 2 weeks later, I took HCG and HMG for 16 days, alternating days. I take HCG at about 2,500 IUs one day. I take 75 IUs of HMG the next day. I did that for 16 days. Then I went straight into Clomid for about 50 days. And that's all I was on. And then I came off that, and then I got those results where my testosterone was like 38. Shortly after that, about 10 days after I came off Clomid, and I was like, man, maybe I need to re-add in HCG and Clomid and everything, but I kind of stuck it out. And so like January was a really rough month, but then February things rebounded big time and my testosterone levels quadrupled. So they went from 38 to 168 in the span of from day 60 to day 90. And then from day 90 to day 120, they went from 168 to 361. And this is on nothing. So it's been about 4 months now, and I'm at 361 to total testosterone.
Interesting. So that's not very bad at all.
No, it just takes a little bit longer. So for me, I let the androgens decline and then started PCT, and my testosterone ended up around 420 nanograms per deciliter right after the PCT. But that's probably with the the Novadex and the Clomid still active in my system, and raising the LH and FSH. And then I checked it a month later, and it was 500. So it did come up. So I think maybe because Pete did the PCT a little bit early. What were you running before you started the PCT?
Well, I was just running testosterone, but it had been about 6 weeks since I had pinned equipoise. So the last things I were on was equipoise and testosterone, but it was a lot longer clearance on the equipoise, and I know that stays in your system longer. And I just been on testosterone, and that was it at that point.
And you were on cycle how long?
I never came off anything for 9 years straight.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Same as me.
And I never ran HCG on cyclic because, like Leo talked about, I had that false belief that it would shut you or it wouldn't work as well when you needed it. So I never ran HCG. I blasted and cruised for 9 years. Trend did it for like a year straight at one point. And yeah, I mean, I pushed it hard. So
yeah, same here.
Couple of thoughts that come to mind. So first of all, let's discuss this gonadorelin thing. So just for the audience to understand, we summarize again. There's in the brain there's an axis that affects the testosterone synthesis, which happens in people's balls, which we call gonads. So there's a hypothalamus in the brain, a pituitary, and then the gonads. So the hypothalamus releases gonadotropin releasing hormone, and then the pituitary releases LH and FSH. So the idea of using gonadorelin is instead of using a recombinant FSH and HCG to replace the signal from the pituitary to the gonads, you're instead using a drug that does it upregulate the gonadotropin releasing hormone, or does it act as gonadotropin releasing hormone, Steve?
I think it antagonizes the receptor or agonizes the receptor.
Agonizes the receptor of gonadotropin in the pituitary. Gonadotropin releasing hormone exactly. So the problem with that, as we discussed in our Bio Bros last time, because we looked into it, is that you need a pulsatile nature of gonadotropin releasing hormone. And if you take something that agonizes the receptor consistently, you actually cause yourself to become, like Steve mentioned before, you castrate yourself, sort of. They use this for pedophiles.
Basically, yeah, you're over stimulating the receptors, and it causes some sort of downregulation. And whether that's the signaling of the receptor to the nuclei producing LH and FSH, or basically metabolizing the receptor from the cell membrane, I'm not really sure. But that's why there is like a buserelin and gonadorelin nasal spray, so where you can do microdoses like multiple times per day.
Yeah, or they have like a pump.
A pump, right. And so that's probably a more suitable approach than the subcutaneous injections. But I'm looking a little bit more into Kispeptin 10, but apparently there's no pharmaceutical.
So exactly. So Kispeptin, which was discovered, by the way, Steve, only in the last 10 years, right? This Kispeptin I've been looking at those articles also. I guess we've been looking at the same things in the last week. So this kisspeptin, kisspeptin is a protein that upregulates the whole system from the beginning. It could potentially cause a recreation of the system from the beginning, from gonadotropin releasing hormone in the hypothalamus. But as Steve said, we're looking, but there doesn't appear to be any peptides that I know of. Although the audience, if you guys have heard of a kisspeptin, is it 10 or 1?
Kisspeptin 10, yeah. There's
If you guys have heard of one, please comment below for me.
I've seen it online, but it's like $300 for a vial.
I don't know if it's real though.
Yeah, that's why I'm looking for pharmaceutical grade.
Exactly.
But there's none.
So there's none.